Playoffs are a wild animal, and this year, these best of three round one matches have been a lot more spicy than the last time I remember going through this last year. FCC finally looked stable, a steady lineup, and a strong plan, just one win away from moving on. But New York City FC had other plans and struck back. Cincinnati couldn't catch up in that second match. We are headed, of course, now to a match 3 in Cincinnati this weekend, and everything from here on out literally is a must win. You know, every announcer tells you that throughout the season, but we are finally in the stage where it's true. FCC will either put together the legendary streak of a lifetime of matches, or we will start to shift into off-season mode. We've got a great group tonight to dive into the series thus far, and we want to talk about how that can happen. Not only that, but let's get into the crazy results around the league as well. Welcome into Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm Boston Brazel, back from vacation, and this feels like match 1 to me since I will be actually able to attend this one for the first time. I'm joined by Brian, and Coach. Let's get right into it. Our show, of course, is sponsored by Apollo Home and Beyond Exercise, and, of course, viewers like you that support us on Patreon. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get the team in here. First up, we will bring in Mr. Brian Biedenbach, back fresh off some hosting duties.
Yeah, man, we went live last Monday night, thankfully, after the win. I'm not sure how it would have gone this last weekend after a devastating loss to New York City, but yeah, I had a good time. And you sound a little rough tonight, man, coming back from vacation, dealing with some time zone issues. You doing all right?
Yeah, a little tired, a little beat up. Voice is still getting over some kind of thing I've had for weeks, unfortunately. But hopefully I don't sound too bad and I can bring the enthusiasm back.
Yeah, no, we're glad to have you back, man.
I am pretty pumped to get into TQL Stadium. I sorely missed not being a part of the round 1 win, that first win. I went last year. I was lucky enough to go to New York and see us win the game 2 versus the Red Bulls, and I miss that feeling, that victory feeling.
Well, let's hope we can capture that again this next Saturday, right?
Yeah. All right, Brian Weigel, the guy who held the fort down, right?
Well, I think the Bryans, we did all right together, right, B?
Yeah.
No, I'm very excited for this game too. I think or game 3, back at TQL Stadium. I think there's going to be a significant vibe change from that Monday night game with 20,000 maybe fans there. I mean, this is winner take all, backs against the rope. Show up, show out, and cheer on the orange and blue. So I'm excited to have these vibes. I remember seeing those pictures of the Philadelphia game last year, the Columbus game, and going in like super nervous, super antsy. And I think those vibes are going to be right there for this match. So it's nice to feel a little bit of something in going into this match for sure. Haven't really felt that a bunch since last year. But yeah, man, excited to be there. You could definitely look forward to maybe having you at the game, but definitely with that cough, stay away from me. So maybe put Kana in between and
stay at your side of the stadium.
We won't pregame together. I don't know. Maybe you can wear a mask or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I would hope after all this time, I'm not contagious, but who knows? Like, who knows?
He's gonna be like Brian. He's cursing himself for coming back on the show, man. They're just making fun of me.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you got the video.
If you need someone to take your tickets Saturday, Boston, if for some reason you're not,
okay.
There you go. No, if you're
always
watching
out for me, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, always looking out.
If you're watching the video portion of tonight's show, you see the nice little neon Believe sign given to me by one of my all-star players on my soccer team. Believe, I got a lot of belief for this weekend, man. I know our coach is going to see us through there, going to motivate the troops, or our DP's actually going to show up at home this week. And, we're going to carry us on, man. You're looking at these different stats between the two games. And, there's a lot of confidence, I feel. I know Coach is going to come here and talk a little bit about everything. But, I'm very excited and looking forward to this game.
Yeah, we are just being joined by Coach. Which perfect timing if your mic's working, sir. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties getting the show started, but before we do that, I wanted to say a big shout out to Apollo Home for sponsoring this show. For the month of November, they are bringing back their $29 heating tune-up. Temperatures are falling faster than Columbus, so don't wait. Call, text, or book online, and you can do that at Apollo Home, their website, or reaching out to them directly. So thanks to them for keeping CST going in 2024. We appreciate it. All right, Coach, are you back? You feeling good? No, not yet. All right. Well, when he's ready to chat with us, we will jump to him. Looking forward to having his take.
Yeah, just go on your normal laptop computer or mic there, Coach. We got you.
All right, let's get into your best and worst for the week, and we'll start with you, Weigel.
Well, I'm going to bring up one of our listeners real quick.
Sure.
Kevin Michael, best, the Crew knocked out of the playoffs. Worst, stupid baseball field, soccer pitch.
Every time.
All day, every day. I love that one, Kevin. Great shot there. No, I think now I wish Coach would be here to correct me or debate me on some of this stuff. My best, I think, actually returning with all of our players and not having any incidents in New York is great, considering apparently the line judges were the same line judges from that game in Red Bull Arena. So that's hella interesting.
Yeah, no Pizzagate this year, though.
No Pizzagate, no ketchup, no cheeseburger, no issue there. So we'll see what happens. But in all honesty, I think my best of the week, and hopefully Coach is listening, is I think that some of these mistakes that we conceded on the goals are 100% correctable. And we know we'll debate, the mental attitude of the team going into this match, but I have a lot of confidence that with game on the line, this group of veterans is able, we'll be able to pull it together and lock it down. So, I mean, how many times is Miles Robinson going to do that stupid header to the back post? I mean, 99 times out of 100, I think he's going to make the right, or, the ball's going to bounce the right way. I think the worst, it's not, I don't know if, either NYCFC learned how to play us a little bit better, the field contributing. I don't know if, maybe we were being too complicated, but the fact that NYCFC, we still beat them on a lot of 50-50 balls, but they just picked our pockets. 20 interceptions of passes in this match. I mean, either we weren't putting on the platform the right way, or they were just, set up to eliminate our passing channels. So that scares me a little bit. I'm hopeful that we're going to be a little bit better, but the fact that they were able to, to take away those balls so easy from us, and I felt like we were kind of complicated, was my worst of the week.
Yeah, I want to dive into some of that later, Brian. You got really good points, and when you play the same team back to back, and you win one match and you lose another, and they look as different as they did, I kind of want to get your guys.
I mean, 5 times since August. It's ridiculous.
It's been a lot here at the end of the season.
Yeah. Leagues Cup, regular season, and then now three playoff matches.
Well, this is the only time they've seen the same lineup, right?
Yeah.
That's about the third time we played that same lineup.
Which is true.
Back to back, yeah.
All right, Brian, we will jump right into you now. Give us those best and worst.
Yeah. My worst, Kevin Michael already mentioned it, but the complicated nature of how we got to that field based on Trey, our guest a few weeks ago from the Blue Balls podcast, the New York City football podcast, that we were playing in a baseball stadium that required Major League Soccer to buy out a golf event, I believe, that was hosted at that stadium so that we could play a soccer match on a baseball field. Just the complicated nature of that makes no sense to me. So that's my worst. And the fact that we actually had to play it on that baseball field was rough. It's always hard to watch a game. Brian, I think you mentioned that week the nets being up along the one baseline. Somebody was mentioning the nets being up. That was the first thing I saw. They pulled back a little bit. Yeah.
Sideline nets. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know. It was just an obstruction in the view from the one angle. I hated it. But my best, it was a little thing, but I love to see it. When Orishano scored, he was all business, man. He knew, that kid knew what was at stake. Ran and got the ball. No celebration. Let's get the ball. Let's go. There were 30 minutes left in the match, I think, at that point. But he was all business. And I love to see that attitude of a guy like Lucho's normally a guy that carries the team. And Orishano's shouldered that weight a few times this season. And I think in that moment, he was showing, hey, we got to do this. There's no time to fool around anymore. We got to get after it. So that was my best of the week. It was a little thing, but man, I love seeing that attitude in a young player.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, you brought up one thing that cracked me up. Vancouver also had a stadium issue this year where they couldn't play in their field because they had a motocross event. And it's like, for a professional league to have two instances where the teams are not ready to play in the playoffs. Like, I understand the Yankee situation a little bit more being in the World Series, but to have two teams that can't even use their own stadiums is just mind-boggling for a professional league. And Vancouver's is like, they didn't even think they were going to be the playoffs. Like, oh yeah, sure, schedule a motocross event. Like that. Some of this stuff is just ridiculously amateur hour, and I'm so hoping that New York can get that stadium over the line, because I'm done playing at Citi Field and
no doubt
Yankee Stadium, man. All right, Coach, I think you're back. Go ahead and give us your hello and then best and worst.
Well, hopefully, like FC Cincinnati, third time's a charm here for me if my mic's working. Had to get a new mic. My worst should be kids, because they ruin everything, which is why nothing works here. But I'm not going to do that. I think my worst is going to be left wing backs for FC Cincinnati. Why? Because we have none. I don't know what is going on with the roster build and why this happened, but we have a combination of wingers and central midfielders playing left wing back. The only guy on the whole team that is a natural left wing back, I mean, I guess you have Isaiah Foster, who's way down the pecking order. And then you have a Brett Housey, who's really a right wing back who can play over there, but obviously Noonan doesn't trust him. And, you know, what's the solution there? If NYCFC wants to attack up the FCC left all night, all we're going to have to do is just hope that Teenage Hadebe or whoever is back there can make some last-ditch tackles, because there is not a defender that can play on that side. My best is, despite that fact, and despite what everybody has already been mentioning, what I've heard, the bad passing, like so much, Lucho trying to play hero ball, all of this, FC Cincinnati still had 3 legitimate chances to tie the game up until they gave up the penalty late. And they were playing on the road, and MLS is one of the most heavy home field advantage sports leagues in the entire world. So really, this shouldn't be a huge surprise that they lost on the road against a good team playing at a baseball stadium. And yet they had chances to win, even though kind of nothing went their way on the night. So that'd be my best.
Yeah, I felt like we played catch up the whole time. When FCC lets another team score first, it's always a little bit of a throat. What do you call that? Like a lump in the throat, because we haven't been as good lately of digging ourselves out of the hole as maybe we were early in the season. And so when New York scored that first goal, I kind of was like, oh no, we're going to have to really, really hustle now. And then, of course, we weren't quite able to do it. Orishano did his best, putting the team on his back. But looking forward to discussing a lot more of this with you three, and I'm glad I have you three on tonight to do that. All right, so thanks for that. We've got a lot of good best and worst in the chat. Jose saying the best is the last 15 minutes of the game. Honorable mention to those guys up north being eliminated. Worst, bad passing and a back line that was even worse, especially on the 2 goals that were given up. We've got a honorable mention. Best goes to whatever fan invented a mascot for New York City so he could make fun of it all week. I saw that on social media. Kind of funny. Someone has gone out of their way to create a rivalry with New York City FC, since they don't really have a online banter fan base to speak of. So one guy's taken upon himself to do it all on Facebook. So if you're lucky enough to catch some of those memes, he's been going at it. Kind of funny out there. All right, let's dive into the match recap. As we've mentioned a couple times, the same starting lineup in back-to-back matches this season. I assume that's because we found some success. Do you think, though, and Coach, I really want to go with you here, is there a liability to a strategy like that? As in, we showed New York our cards, it worked, we beat them. They seemed a little bit more ready for us this time, even being down a player.
If I'm being honest, what Brian said about not being able to recover, or actually, Boston, that was you, about not recovering after the first goal. When I watched that match again, because I'm a sadomasochist, so I do that kind of thing. The first 20 minutes of that match, FC Cincinnati was actually quite good, even playing in
Yes.
the narrow space,
Yes.
moving the ball. I would say they had the better of it, not by a lot. But they had that close Orshano chance that was offside, but they looked dangerous. It wasn't until after NYCFC scored, which wasn't like a systematic breakdown. It was a couple individual errors that led to that goal. And then after that, they couldn't really get their feet. And I think it was a combination of NYC playing at home and having that lift that comes with scoring a goal, and FC Cincinnati playing on the road and having that, that depression, that lump in the throat, right? So I don't think it was a strategic failure in terms of rolling out the same lineup or trying to play the same way, as much as it was that things didn't go their way with that first 20 minutes not being able to get the breakthrough and then having that goal scored against you. But I do think there was a failure by Noonan to then be able to change the match up when it needed to be, to go on and try to press forward and get that equalizer.
Are you making subs sooner then? Is that what you're saying?
I don't necessarily think sooner. I think bringing in Sergio Santos that early actually was a weird one for me, because the opening 10 minutes of the half, again, FC Cincinnati came out. Remember, Kubo almost scored in that opening minute of the second half, nicking the ball off of goalkeeper Matt Freese, right? Almost scored. I'm using that very loosely. He should have almost scored, right? So then to all of a sudden shift him back and put Sergio Santos in, a guy who wants to run in behind constantly when there's not really any space because it's a shorter field, I think might have been a mistake. I think Kevin Kelsey looked pretty good when he came on, not great. I think what I said earlier about not having a left wing back can kind of apply across the whole team. This team's not a deep team. So there's not a lot of things you can do to change it up. But I do think just the way it was changed, and actually how early it was changed when they seemed to be getting their footing, I think was not a good strategy by Noonan. I think he panicked a little bit.
Interesting. No, I kind of agree with you. The left wing back position is obviously a need. You've mentioned it twice now, so I want to go ahead and address it.
So in the first game, though, Coach, I felt like the left wing with Yamil Saad, he was our pressure release valve, and he held up the play well. He dribbled at their attack, and that just wasn't there this week.
Yeah, and Assad was fantastic in that first game. But again, he came out early enough in the second half. It's hard to tell what he could have done had he got going. I do think that having a more attacking right back out there for NYCFC and Ilinic obviously put Assad on his heels a little bit. And then obviously having the more narrow pitch, but Assad comes so far inside so often that shouldn't have been a huge deal. I do think that he didn't play as well. I also think when FC Cincinnati needed to press for the goal, where is their strength? On the left side. What else was on the left side when they needed to press for the goal in the second half? A freaking baseball infield, right? Yeah. Guys sliding around out there. So again, can you call that bad luck that the game went poorly in the first half and then the second half you're attacking that side of the field? All of us who have coached have had that situation where you have you're playing on a field with a hill or it's windy and you just happen to give up a goal in the first half and you're like, now we're never going to score because the second half we're playing uphill the whole match, Yeah. And it felt like that. It felt like, youth soccer when you're playing with that big of a disadvantage, having a baseball diamond out there mucking up your game plan.
Yeah, and I wonder, so I missed the first half of the match. I was out of town and driving and whatever, but I wondered the red card, right? What was his name in the first match?
Javon Gray.
Yeah. He's a right back, correct? And so I just wondered if that matchup there on our left side, their right side, made that big a difference. Coach, you spoke to that just a little bit. I think that I wonder if that was a tougher matchup for Yamil Assad on that side. Beyond the pitch than the surface there.
Yeah, I don't think Ilinic even played that well. He had the big hand in that opening goal, right? Other than that, he didn't do a whole lot, but he is much more present in the attacking third than Tavon Gray. Tavon Gray almost doesn't even venture up there that often. And so I do think it makes a difference just in how that shapes up. But it's just a different assignment. Yamil Assad should be good enough, and Teenage Hadebe should be good enough to adjust for that. Uh, but what you saw is with Ilinic being willing to just run and Assad having to try to keep up with him and just backtracking, then he wasn't able to get into the attack as much. So it's less that he did anything good out there, that Assad couldn't defend him, and more just that Assad actually had to defend him, I think.
He kept him occupied.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, the elephant in the room, I guess, is we moved Luka up to create more attacking presence, since we don't seem to have a good forward answer up top. Do you move him back for game 3, or are you sticking with this?
Does anybody else want to go before I just absolutely rail on this?
I would like him to be up there. I'm just not sure if him up there with Kubo is the right option, especially, if we need some sort of hold up play. But even you see, even with aerials, like, we weren't like wildly unsuccessful in the aerial duels. I mean, we were cleaning up a lot, winning a lot. It was the passing, and I felt, coach, correct me, like, I just felt like sometimes we were just way too intricate in some of the through balls we were trying to play our guys in, versus, maybe working the ball around, smaller plays, smaller give and goes, things like that. But how many times was also like Kubo offside or Luka offside in those first 45 minutes? Just drive me nuts.
Yeah, I don't even know that I would say intricate. I just think they weren't careful with the ball. Orishano gave the ball away almost 40% of his touches. I mean, that is like, for a player that is as good as he is, that is unconscionable. Lucho, I think, was at like 37%, giving away 37% of his possessions. So there were how many times, think back to that second half, especially, did we see a Lucho Acosta go to make a through pass and actually just hit the first defender right in front of him? And so I don't know how to put it, if it's just a mentality thing. I'm excited to talk to Justin Hoyt about this on Talking Tactics when we record tomorrow, because it doesn't make any sense to me that players that good can be, we're hitting on all cylinders on a Monday, and then on a Saturday look so out of their depth.
Yeah, I still think that's our best 3 to start up top. I think they have the best chemistry together and play the best, because Lucho does look for those cheeky little passes through, and sometimes they don't work, but when they do, I feel like Orishano and Kubo are the only 2 that anticipate that and run onto it. And so if that's the way Lucho is going to play, I think those are our best options up there. And they produced. Coach, you even said, we had chances there at the end of the match and even early on in the match that we just didn't finish. These 3 are producing opportunities up top, and I think we stick with them this match. I don't know that Noonan will, but I think we stick with them this match. And you look at, looking through the stats, Celentano only had 1 save. The 2 goals that were the 2 first goal, well, all 3, because the one was a penalty, really had no chance at. We had 3 guys not tracking back on the first goal. We had, a giveaway in Robinson. And so, again, I didn't see the entire match. Those 3 would seem like our defense just continually broke down. But with Celentano only needing to make 1 save, it sounds like they played pretty stout for the most part. But the trouble was finishing the balls. And even Powell, when he came in late in the match, had 2 clean opportunities to tie the match. So it doesn't sound like, in what I saw, we played terrible up top. I didn't see all the giveaways, obviously, but I think these are the 3 we stick with moving into the next match, because of the way Lucho likes to play and the trust that he has in those 2. But I don't know that Noonan will change that up.
Elvis Powell, man, he always seems like he's finally going to get it and save the day, but never happens.
One of these days.
I know. I was so hopeful there as well. I was like, no way, it's finally going to be Powell's moment, and it's the playoffs. No. No. I love this topic, because it's really, really hard, I think, to move Orishano when he's the one that is going to hit your banger, and did, and put FCC back in this match, despite what coach is saying. Both him and Acosta have the sometimes rash ability to think I actually think it's just a confidence thing. They both believe, despite a guy standing right in front of them, I'm going to somehow get through this guy. I'm going to pass it through him. I'm going to get around him. And 7 out of 10 times they're not going to, but in some of those instances, but at the same time, that confidence is what's going to give you those goals. And I just, the shame of it is, guys, I don't know where to turn. If Orishano and Kubo are not the answer, well, we don't have one.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to carry you far in the playoffs, but I think I agree completely with Brian that you have to run out the same lineup, that same front three. We've seen lots of data to say that Luca Orishano cannot defend any better than Yamil Assad back there. So if defending is the answer is Luca Orishano, then you're asking the wrong question. And what FC Cincinnati did on Monday against NYCFC is they spread the field out, and then they got Orishano in the pockets of space, dropping into where he could spin and dribble. He carried the ball for more progressive yards by far than any other player for FC Cincinnati. And having that field be 10 yards narrower makes a difference there. It allows every player, when you're talking about Orishano skipping by a defender by an inch because of the way he can explode and accelerate, that 5 yards that defender can sit in the middle of two players instead of having to stretch one way or the other makes a difference. So I think if we see Noonan roll out a different lineup, and it's not due to injury, I think we can say, oh, wow, the gaffer's panicking, because other than that, I think you should roll in with Kubo, Orishano, and Lucho up top and feel pretty confident that you should be able to get a win.
Yeah. And what do you guys, going to Brian's comment about the defense, what do you guys think about that? Is that just a case of New York getting the lead, and therefore the Celentano's one save is really all that he needed, and they weren't hitting us as hard?
They had more shots, I think.
The reason I ask is, are we confident in game 3 with the 3 we have in the back?
I still think this is the strongest defense we've had since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I'm on that train as well.
So I trust those 3 back there. I don't know what, that first goal was on, I think, Obi and Buka and Lucho, who were standing 3 yards behind the guy that finally shot the ball, because our defense was tracking back like they should have. And they just held up. I watched that play again and again and again today, and they were sprinting and then just kind of stopped and watched the guy run ahead of them. So I don't know that I even put that on the defense. I put that on our 6 and our 8 back there, and Lucho was in the mix but wasn't running back either. And then again, Miles Robinson, what was that? Celentano didn't have a chance. It was a giveaway to that far post, and you don't see him do that. I don't think you see him do that again.
Yeah. And consistently, all of the big chances that FCC concede are from turnovers in the midfield in bad spots when everybody's starting to move forward. Even the free kick goal, the one where it got dunked on the back post by Martins, was Orishano giving the ball away, got tackled away from him, landed Buka. Then Buka tried to lift the ball over a defender, has it tackled away from him, and then Obi comes in and fouls. It makes the free kick. The first goal was a giveaway. The Santi penalty was a giveaway on the right touchline, in a spot where Lucho has easy possession of the ball and coughs it up in a way where the defenders, the wingbacks, are overlapping on that side. Kubo's pushing up the field, right? And it causes these transition moments. So it's kind of a both and, boss. And it's like, do you trust this defense? Well, yeah, in a vacuum, I do. But are they going to be able to continue to put out fires when they're in scramble mode if the midfield continually, puts them out on an island like that? I don't think so. Would Matt Miazga have made a difference there? I'm not even sure. There's just too many bad giveaways in those moments, and you can't defend on your heels like that without giving up some chances.
Yeah. The penalty I'm less worried about, because we were chasing that point, and it just ended up being what it was. At that point, I did not think we were going to win that game anyway. We had our chances going forward. So.
If Powell would have made one of those chances, I mean, the whole situation plays out differently.
No doubt.
We're talking about PKs maybe.
And if you watch that the penalty that Awazium chases a guy from the right side of the 18, the box, chases him all the way across and runs around Miles Robinson. Like he just runs flat around him. And instead of dropping to help, Robinson stayed put where he was and he just watched the play happen. He had another defender. I think Hadabi was behind him, marking the other player. And Robinson just stayed put and watched it go. I think he made a mistake on that one as well. But again, the game was about over at that point.
Yeah. I'm not beating that. That's not what cost us here, right? It's not getting that second goal and not performing well on the two that got scored against us. But I like Jose's question here. He's really optimistic. He thinks game 3 is going to PKs here. So we'll go ahead and
optimistic.
He says, speaking of PKs, how can they get Celentano to be better with PKs? Easy. Sub out Celentano for Leroux.
It's not the worst idea. You joke, but it's not the worst idea.
I mean, I just remember like his first year, like he was like pretty good at PKs. I think he like saved like 2 or 3, and then I don't think he's actually saved one since.
I don't think he's gone the right way.
I know it's supposed to be what's the percentage, like 77% or something like that. I feel like with Celentano, we're like at a 93% will not save this ball. I'm with you, Brian. But I'm serious. I do wonder if you do a goalkeeper switch if it gets down to it. So it's just Celentano's he's good at a lot of things. He's good at shot
reaction
stopping.
saves.
Yeah, reaction saves in the game. Somehow that doesn't transition to PKs, and that's fine. You know, we seem to have players that can do that. So
and yet he's going to save 3 this weekend.
I wonder if it gets in the psyche. I've never been a PK shooter. I've been the goalkeeper on the line in those instances, but I wonder if it gets in the psyche. It messes with the head of the shooter that another keeper's coming in, and the confidence that I can beat Celentano. But I don't know who this guy is. I don't know where he's going to go. Right? I don't know. You still got.
Yeah, they're not prepping for Evan. Yeah,
no,
they're not. Yeah.
I don't know that you prep for any goalkeeper. Goalkeepers prep for the shooter, but I don't know. To throw someone new in there, maybe a little something, maybe a little strategy.
Yeah. I'd never seen PKs as bad as some of the matches we saw this weekend, though, around the league. There was a stinker. Who was it that only had one? Last night, was it last night or the night before? There was a match where only one PK was scored by
I didn't see that one.
Charlotte versus Orlando.
Charlotte
that's scored 3. Orlando scored 1.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? Did they even want to win this game? But no, it was actually great saves and a couple skies and sky balls, and I was like, man, this is a disaster of a PK if you're Orlando here. All right, well, we've kind of beat this one to death. You guys got anything else you wanna touch on before we move into this round 3 stuff?
I guess, Coach, what's the mentality that you're preaching all weekend? Is it stay the course, or you preaching more urgency?
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit of both. It's stay the course, but it's also, this is 2 games in a row where you have been outdueled by NYC, that you are the better team. So, and the only way they're going to beat you is if they play harder than you, and if they continue to win those tackles. And I would put that clip on repeat that I talked about where Orshano lost out and then Buka got it tackled away from them. And I would show a couple times when Kubo pulls out of a challenge and he's not going to win the challenge. It's not about winning it. But if you go hard into it, then the other guy doesn't win the ball cleanly. It pops out. It goes out of bounds. Instead, Kubo pulls out and the guy basically slides and stands up with the ball and starts dribbling. You know, it happened 2 or 3 times. And I'm saying, guys, if you are the superior team, which I believe you are, and if we stay the course and do what we did in that first game, which will allow us to win, the only way you lose this game is if they out-intense you. And that's what happened in this past game. You can't let it happen.
Well, Coach, I got a question for you before we move on from this game. You made a comment in our Slack channel that about Lucho. In particular, the fact that Lucho in games like this drops really deep. Seems to be, he wants to be that playmaker. He wants the ball. and he's willing to come as far back as sitting in between the center backs, even to get the ball so that he can make a play. How do you change maybe the mentality of a player like that wants the ball so desperately to make a play, but then takes himself out of the play by dropping so deep when we need him as the playmaker in the midfield and forward? Does Noonan go after him on that? Is it something he just adjusts to and he watches film? Like, what do you do as a coach in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it is up to Lucho, right? He's going to make the decision, but you can continue to remind him. And I think as a coach, with a guy like Lucho, I think it's even less about talking to him about how it's good for the team and more about talking to him about how it's good for him. What I'd do is I'd show him the stats. I'd say, look, Lucho, on Monday, you had only 58 touches, but 74% of them, 3/4 of your touches were in the attacking third. How did that go for you? This past match, you had 64 touches. You had more touches, but only 59%. A little over half of them were in the attacking third. How did that go for you? Show him how it not only benefits the team, but it benefits him to be receiving the ball in dangerous spots. Lucho wants to score. He wants to get assists, and he wants to meg guys. And then apparently, for some reason, he wants to not touch the ball when it's passed to him because the number of times he dummies the ball, just hopes somebody's behind him. Anyway, neither here nor there. But you talk to him about how that's good for him. Is he still going to drop deep? Sure, he's going to do that. But you also need to have players on the pitch who are willing, even though he's the captain, to remind him, gently, hey, we'll get you the ball. Go hang out up there. Make a movement up there. We'll get it to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate those thoughts. And what I do want to dive into, well, I guess confidence vote. If we play the same lineup, and this is for all three of you, just real quick. If we play the same lineup, but we clean a little bit up. Let's just say our passing accuracy is a little bit better. Defense is about the same. Are you feeling pretty good going into match 3?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. We're playing on our pitch that we're familiar with. It's a wider field. We can spread the field. We're playing in front of our home crowd. That typically gives us a boost. This season, not so much, but it's a do or die game. We're on our familiar field, and I think we do it. I'm confident going in.
All right, cool. All right, I'm in the same boat. So I think if we're on the same page, if FCC can just, if I'm Pat this week, I guess, clean it up, fundamentals. That's the message I'm hammering home. And of course, practice those PK boys just in case Jose's right and we're battling 5-5, 5-4 there at the end. All right. I guess around the league, we've had some surprising results. Last year, when we did this whole round of 3 thing, a lot of teams made it in 2. That is not the case this year. And I guess the good news, if you're FC Cincinnati and you're going to match 3, so is everybody else except for the Red Bulls. It seems like even Messi couldn't get the job done. We saw some surprising results this weekend. Atlanta beating Miami, which is all I see when I open my phone now because Messi news takes over everything. But aside from that, the Columbus Crew knocked out. I mean, you're talking about what is arguably one of the best teams in Major League Soccer right now, falling. And that's just the nature of these playoffs. We've discussed it before that when you get into these games, I am surprised Columbus fell in the round of 3. Anybody else shocked? Because usually that's enough time for the cream to rise to the top. If you're playing 3, that's the whole point of playing 3 is that there's no not as many upsets, right?
I felt like the New York Columbus matchup was the best matchup or the worst matchup for Columbus in that first round. I feel like the way the Red Bulls played, they were going to take it to them. I didn't expect them to win in 2, to be quite honest. I don't know that I expected them to win. I just expected them to beat them up a little bit. So I thought that was the worst matchup Columbus could have had in that first round. So am I glad to see him gone? Absolutely. Was I celebrating while I was watching my son play futsal last night and I'm watching on my phone, jumping up and down on the sidelines, not for him, but because Columbus was eliminated in PKs? Absolutely.
Yeah, Crew plays such a high risk, high reward game, and so do the Red Bulls, just in a complete opposite way. Like with Crew, it's like we'll possess out of anything, no matter what, and we'll send everybody forward, no matter what. And Red Bulls is like, we will just kick the crap out of it and run down there and hope we don't get called for fouls when we run into you, no matter what. So it's both high risk reward. So like Brian said, it was a really interesting matchup. I'm really surprised that Crew didn't end up pulling a game out. But as soon as Red Bulls won the game one, I thought this could be done in two. Really, really, I think it's 50-50 at that point because playing at home is such an advantage, as we've already talked about. And then you add into the fact that Wilfred Nancy and company, we're going to have to do all the things that everyone thinks make them the greatest, the God's gift to MLS, all of the passing and the movement. And Red Bulls are like, fine, you can have all of the ball. And when we get it, we're just going to kick it hard, run real fast, and see if we can score. And at that point, it's a coin flip. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
You got to respect that team. They played a crazy amount of matches this year, but very, very happy that we're still playing and they are not. So would like to be playing next round. So we'll see what happens there. And I'm very excited that, there's that added little bonus for FC Cincinnati this weekend, knowing, hey, win and you're home again. And you never know what's going to happen with Miami. So you take care of business and your road may have gotten a little bit easier.
How wild would that be? Never in a million years did I think, let's just pretend FCC wins and Miami gets knocked out. Just never in a million years did I think we'd be a top seed and that the two best teams in the league would fall. Somebody at Apple is sweating. That's Miami. They're probably happy to get game 3 for the revenue, but
right.
But sweating that Messi falls out of this tournament early.
We talked last Monday night after the match that we very well could have seen our last home match of the season. And here we are back for one more and a chance for another one because of the New York Red Bulls win. How cool is that we don't go out with a half empty stadium or one quarter empty stadium? Like we could go out with a home match with a packed house. Would love that. Not out. I mean, our last home match being packed. My bad.
Do you think we'll have a packed house
on Saturday night? I sure hope so.
With a week to sell.
Depends if it's raining or not. But yeah,
a do or die match.
I hope
the playoffs at home on a Saturday night.
Hey,
Saturday afternoon. I sure hope so.
I got a call from my group sales contact. They're looking for people, so I guarantee they're looking for quite a bit. Going into holiday season, man, I love throwing out $100 plus of tickets every weekend. So that goes. Kids are gonna get a little bit less.
I know people like me. From
Miami falls out. If Miami falls out and we win, the playoffs just got a lot more expensive because I was banking on some of these being road games. Brian's right though. That is the downside. We would host here on out.
Hey, I'll take any chance to keep winning and advancing. Get us, there's Nashville's at home, St. Louis is at home, Columbus is at home. Philadelphia's at home, so this is sweet.
Yeah. All right. I guess the other big results, Orlando and Charlotte are tied at 1-1, just like us. And so, down the road, Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, Charlotte, whoever wins out of those matches will be just as tired as we are. So that's kind of
because they have that 20 day break.
Yeah.
No tiredness going to be there.
Minnesota and LA are also on the Western Conference going to it. Seattle being the only ones, just like New York, to advance. And so poor Houston never can catch a break, and that continues in 2024 as well. So the world is still spinning, and some things are always the same. Houston, they won something recently, right? An
U.S. Open Cup last year.
Yeah, so it's not all.
Ben Olsen's doing a pretty good job there.
Yeah, it was supposed to be their year. It looked like it early on in the season, but all right. So that's what's going on in the league. And if you are one fun thing I saw out there, I did see a Crew fan on Reddit who got absolutely shredded by his own fans that said, I will pull for all Ohio teams in the absence of my team not moving forward. So there is at least one Crew fan out there cheering for us this weekend. It did not go over well. The poor guy got mercilessly killed online. So be careful if you're out there, Crew fans. You're allowed to switch your allegiance, I guess, but I will warn you, you might permanently switch them if you switch them temporarily, because we're a fun team. Be careful.
Could be quite a bit of commute either way to Cleveland or Cincinnati. So.
Oh man! All right, the big news I saw. Brian had put it in here, so I think it was one of you guys put it in here. Thank you so much, Luca Orshano, possibly being acquired this week. We knew there was a buy option. We heavily expected it on our staff that he would be acquired, but there are actually reports out there now, a $3 million fee, which seems too cheap, almost.
I thought it sounded expensive.
You did? I thought it was cheap.
Yeah. So they're saying $3 million potentially for 2 years. With the no formal information out there, I would expect it's probably 2 years plus an option. You know how MLS loves to add those additional player options, but $3 million. Say that's spread out over a year or 2 or 3 years, plus his $1 million rumored salary. I would expect that Luke Orshano is our next designated player. Very, very likely, unless things shake out differently, and I'm sure I'll get corrected. But I'm all for it. I've been saying it for the past couple of months. I think he's absolutely worth it. Now, time to go out and get a forward, and time to go out and get a real left back, and stop trying to pray and hope and spending ridiculous money on loanees. So. Yeah, I think he's totally earned it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in at least here another season.
A rumor is that the fee would have been $6 million if he used his right foot too.
Oh my God,
that's a good one. For a second, I actually thought you had.
My God! So, Coach, I'm a big fan of this because I think it's twofold. I think he's a tremendous player, but I think he gives us more flexibility. If Lucho, can't go, we still have a super creative central midfielder on the pitch, and that's something we just haven't had. I know we've been knocking the guy with his 1 foot at some points, but I mean he could take free kicks, corner kicks. I mean the guy scores bangers upon bangers, and I think he still has a lot of room to grow with, kind of giving more keys to the system versus being that left wing or, auxiliary player on some of those other clubs he's been on.
Yeah, I think beyond having more room to grow, I think we've seen it happen over the course of the season. His passing in terms of, making that final pass or key passing has improved quite a bit. So I do expect him to get better. I worry a little bit about him as just a full pure DP in terms of when you look at the model of bringing in guys that are more in that like 27, 28-year-old range who've had success on multiple continents, who are more like sure thing DPs. I think he's more of a risk. If this was like a U22 signing, which I know he's too old, but if it was something like that, I would be completely fired up. As it is now, glad to have him in the fold. I think he will be a valuable asset. I'm not 100% sure that he will live up to being like, oh yeah, one of the 3 best, most important players on the team, sort of DP tag that, having that DP tag comes with.
I don't know that I fully agree with that, because if you look at the development of someone like Alvaro Barreal, it took him 2 or 3 seasons to really hit his stride. And we were shocked with Orshano and the way that he came in. And it took him a little bit to adjust to that wing back position, playing on the opposite side that he was used to. We've talked about all that early in the season, but I imagine that he continues to grow and he continues to develop maybe in the same trajectory that Barreal did. And that's my hope as a DP, that he would add different elements to his game, right? Barreal was sending crosses in from the left side, and when Orshano was out there, he always wanted to cut to the middle. So he never was the wing back that would cross the ball in, which takes someone like Kevin Kelsey, I think, out of a lot of games, because he's about our only target up there, which is one reason we see him, I think, sitting on the bench a lot, because you bring Orshano in. So I just think there's a lot of room to grow there. maybe it's early to put him on a DP contract, but I do think the development that we've seen of players under Pat Noonan in the system, I'm hopeful that he continues to grow on that trajectory, that he does become one of those guys that, I mean, he is one of the guys we have to depend on and we count on right now. But maybe, I don't know that he becomes a Lucho type player, but I think the potential's there.
Yeah, I actually agree with everything that you said, other than, that I don't think that he's a sure thing. We've seen it this season that he's already so inconsistent. He scored that banger, fantastic goal in that match. But like I said, he gave the ball away 40% of the time he touched it also. And we've seen that. And you see that of young players who have only played in South America, coming. So it's going to matter how much he settles in and does he continue to improve. Alvaro Barreal, you said, took him 3 seasons or so, but it wasn't a rise from season 1 to season 2 to season 3. It wasn't a progression like that. It was much more like up and down until he hit a level of consistency. And then he got, loaned out because he wanted to go. So I hope that this ends up being a great thing. I do think he's a player that right now we need. I just think that the best teams in MLS don't have hot and cold mercurial players as designated players usually.
Well, I just want proven talent. We seem to struggle at getting that. We haven't had a forward that we have actually signed on a DP contract in ever. I mean, Vasquez was not a DP, and he's the only steady striker we've had. Every other multi-million-dollar guy we've signed has been meh at best. And so I'm all for this decision just because we at least know what we have, and it's worth taking, in my opinion. And we still have one more DP slot to roll the dice and go try another number 9 and go back to that slot machine one more time.
Do we have 1 or 2 opening next year?
Possibly 2, but just 1 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Barreal took the one so the other one. You think Obi can come off, Brian?
Yes. Yeah, we'll be able to sign it forward.
And what did I don't remember the contract of Gioacchini. Was that just
he won't be here in my opinion.
He's gone.
Rent a player.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yes. So Obi will probably come off, and we'll get a big money forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. The really nice thing about Gioacchini is that we did not tie ourselves to that. So Brian's making fun of my pronunciation, but all right. Well, we're gonna get out of here in a second, but first we want to give a shout out to Beyond Exercise for being a awesome sponsor, local physical therapy fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS Next, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. And we've hung out with Eric and those guys at Go Beyond Exercise, and I honestly don't know a more committed company to the soccer scene in Cincinnati right now. Eric's out helping people all the time, including the team we sent down to Carolina this year, and really puts his heart and soul into the soccer community. So a big shout out to Beyond Exercise. All right, we're going to go ahead and close this thing out. I'll get into your final thoughts, and if there's anything else you want to touch on, now's the time, gents. Otherwise, we're just going to wash right over you. All right, Biedenbach, you're up.
I got 2 final thoughts tonight. The first is just kind of in passing. I love the fact that we have a chance to knock out both New York City teams in the playoffs. What a fun run that could be for us if we can do that. And then my second one is more of a local shout out here in Fort Wayne, but soccer related. We've got Fort Wayne FC here in Northeast Indiana that just announced today they're building a soccer specific stadium here in town as the USL 2 team continues to make a push into USL 1 and potentially USL Championship. So I know DeMarcus Beasley's behind that team, and so it's been fun to watch the growth of soccer here in my town in Fort Wayne. So just shout out to Fort Wayne FC for their big announcement today.
Cool. You know how big they want to make it?
They said it's 7,500 plus. So about, I think it's going to be up to 10,000 standing room only for games and events.
That's decent. It's better than NKU. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good stadium. All right. Well, I hope that goes. I hope everything goes to plan. Yeah, first-handed when it comes to stadium projects. Don't believe it till it's built, but but I do.
Ask the city of Indianapolis on that one, right?
Yeah, but I do wish you all the luck. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, we'll go to you.
All right, just because I've been arguing with people on Twitter about this, my final thought is the Columbus Crew are not one of the best teams to ever have played in MLS. They're just not. They have done fantastic things and they were fun to watch and they're a good team. But, to win knockout tournaments takes a bit of luck. You get food poisoning, that's bad luck. You have a penalty that goes in or gets called, that's good luck, right? They did some good things in knockout tournaments, and the only one they won was Leagues Cup, which is played entirely in the US and has all kinds of imbalances because of that. The real prize in MLS is the Supporters Shield. And don't give me all this unbalanced schedule BS, because you know what a knockout tournament is? Unbalanced schedule. If FC Cincinnati goes on and wins the whole thing, they'll do it without beating the Columbus Crew. They won't have to beat at least one of the LA teams, maybe both of them. What is a knockout tournament other than an unbalanced schedule? I am all about MLS Cup, and I want that star on the crest as bad as anyone. But success over the course of a season, unbalanced schedule or not, that's the real prize. So, Crew, not one of the best teams ever.
Well, spicy take to close the show, Coach. Nice. I do agree with your unbalanced schedule point, though. I think everybody overlooks that none of it is balanced. No, there's nothing balanced about anything we do. Season, tournaments, League Cup, MLS Cup. You're right. You're dead on there. All right, Brian.
Keep it simple here, fellas. Just remember, tomorrow is election day. A vote is not love. It's not a Valentine. It's a chess move. So do what you want to do, but go out and vote. And that's why it's so important, because you guys did vote and look, Orshana Goal of the Year. So good job, all of you. We love you very much. Great job. Vote.
Thanks, Brian. Yep. It's that time of year. It's that time of the 4 years. I don't know what you call it every 4 years, but yeah. Anyway, I'm with Brian. Get out there, do your part.
Since we're talking about voting as well, Jeff Tebbets is going to have a great article on CST about his voting.
Oh yeah,
for the end of year awards. So
yeah,
go check that out shortly.
Yeah, Tebbets gets the CST official media vote, right? So I think if you want to know what we're doing through Jeff, that's the way our vote fell this year. So good shout out, Brian. Check out CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Check out the podcast we'll have coming later this week. Coach, you got anything coming down the pipe?
Yeah, Justin and I are recording Talking Tactics. We're gonna look back at that match and talk about what went wrong and how we can fix it for Saturday.
Well, I'm going to tune into that then, because I need answers. So I hope you, between the two of you, you better figure everything, and then send it to Pat Noonan, and then I'll believe again. All right, thanks for tuning in to this show, and we've got a lot of cool things coming as mentioned. Tune in the rest of the week, have fun, and we will see you 4:00 Saturday at TQL Stadium, and then back on the show regardless of what happens next week. See you.